Is it going? There it is.
All right, we'll start the meeting. I'll remind everybody that this meeting is being recorded. Because it's an entirely remote meeting, all votes will be done by roll call vote. And if we could start by doing a roll call attendance. Bill Ambrosino here.
Lisa
Bonnie
Hilton here.
Tenio here.
Ann
Frank
Mazar
Nero
here.
Lisa,
I'm
Yep.
here. Hello.
Liana,
Here.
Fran,
Here.
Ann,
Here.
and I think that's it. All right. I'll give it off to Gabe at this point, and we'll start with the agenda.
Yeah, so I think Matt emailed, I don't know if everyone got the email, but Matt can't make it tonight. So I don't think we have any minutes to vote on today. Besides that, I think, so Bill, just to update you, at our last meeting, we reviewed the common driveway and flag lot bylaws, and Dylan, Jane, and I met a couple, like right after, on Friday after the meeting, and we have some revisions to bring on that. And I guess, well, short-term rental is settled. We're gonna bring a version of that to the bylaw committee. So I think today we're just gonna talk about flag lots and shared driveways. And I think if we can get that settled today, this will probably be Jane and I's last meeting with the group. I think besides that, Dylan is gonna keep the show on the roll, keep it rolling. Just trying to
I think we've
mixing
done
up my
most of the-
metaphors.
I think we've done most of the heavy lifting, so.
And Jane and I will work with Dylan just to compile the work we've done into a single document for, and then I think Dylan is going to work on fixing some of the numbering and some formatting stuff in the document as well. So not sure what her timeline looks like on that, but so tonight I think I'd like to get flag lots and shared driveways settled. So which do you think we should tackle first, group? Oh, I see. Okay, we have a couple more people came in. Brendan is here.
Yeah, Brendan just showed up.
And then an
Hello.
iPad. I don't know who they logged off, so maybe someone will be back.
Okay. Well, good evening, Brendan.
Hello, how are you?
Not too bad. All right. Why don't we start with the flag lot, I guess?
Sounds good. All right. So as discussed at the last meeting, we're calling it in the bylaws a retreat lot. That was the preference of the committee last time. In terms of changes from the last time, so we're going to require, in order to conserve, limit the creation of, what's the word, impermeable surface. Basically, if you want to have adjacent lots with a retreat lot, they have to be, the access roads on each lot have to be adjacent, and they have to use a single curb cut, which would require as well, at that point, the shared driveway bylaw would kick in. And then we also introduced, everything else is pretty straightforward. But then we also introduced some restrictions. So no more than 2 retreat lots shall have contiguous frontage. So basically, we're not going to have a situation with more than 2 adjacent retreat lots. No more than 2 retreat lots shall be adjacent to each other and may only be adjacent along the access strip. So that's kind of reinforcing the shared driveway motivation. And then in order to limit the creation of retreat lots, there shall be a minimum of 1,000 feet of frontage between retreat lots, except in the case that 2 retreat lots abut each other along the access strip. So you won't have a situation where you have, we don't want to have a situation where the street has kind of an, double the number of curb cuts. It's really the underlying zoning is really intended for. So
Yeah,
that's
my only concern with too
yeah.
much restriction is then we're gonna push developments of subdivisions. I noticed in talking to a couple of people from Upton that if anyone's been through Upton lately, there's a lot of these flag lots going up. Right on Mendon Street, there's a couple of them, and they're almost promoting it in Upton, and they're in particularly the reasoning is because they're fearful of too much restriction is going to promote subdivision. So I'm not sure how everybody feels about that. I'm not sure how I feel about it, but
yeah.
from a planning board perspective,
Yeah, so Brendan posted in the chat sort of a chart that can kind of show, I think, what we're trying to avoid with these restrictions on the flag lots, where you could have a street with just like 4 flag lots in a row, which could essentially create an unregulated subdivision.
yeah.
If they had a big enough parcel. Anne has her hand raised.
Yeah, do they, we've probably gone over this, but they would need the same amount, size lot for, the 1.5 acres or 60,000 square feet of upland?
I
Or-
believe so.
Or,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
so the area of the retreat lot
dimensional
must,
requirements would still apply. So
yeah, the area of the
Okay.
retreat lot must be at least 2 times the minimum
Thank you.
lot size requirement for the zoning district.
okay.
Yeah.
The other thing I had is I wouldn't really worry about having subdivisions put in because I think if a developer has enough land, they're gonna build a subdivision, and the subdivisions have lately been open space subdivisions, and so open space is set aside. My other question was how much how far behind the lot that's on the street do they have to be?
So it has to be so it's a 50-foot minimum for the access strip. I don't think there's a limit.
I think it's in the common driveway one. I think is a 500-foot limit. Maybe
Okay.
we
But,
can
like,
double check that.
Is there a distance from the lot in front of them that they have to build their house, just so that, if someone has?
It would be the same frontage as the underlying zoning, so
So
or the same setback as the underlying zoning.
The minimum lot depth is 200 feet. So where I live, there's a house 50 feet
yeah,
from me.
I think what she's
Sometimes there's
asking
houses
is,
behind you because you live on a street where there's houses behind you.
yeah,
So
they're
It's not like
they're
I have a
only
retreat lot behind me. I just live on a corner.
yeah, they're only restricted by the setback though. So if there's a
Yeah.
house to the back of the lot and want to build 20 feet off the property line,
Mhm.
they're going to be pretty close together. I mean,
They'll have the front setback of 50. You have your rear setback of 20 in front of them. So you have a setback of 70 between houses.
yeah,
So are you saying that from the road to where the house is 200 feet?
At least, right?
At least,
if there's a
yeah.
minimum lot depth of 200 feet.
Not to where the house is. The house is 50 feet back in Mendon. Our
Oh,
front
okay.
setback is 50 feet.
I think
And
Anne
then
meant,
the rear
Anne
setback
meant
is
on
20
the
feet.
Anne meant on the retreat lot. So like,
I mean, yeah, I'm saying so in the front lot, we have a 50 foot, then you have the house, and then you have a rear setback of 20. And then you have a retreat lot behind that. So then you'd have another setback there between their lot line and their house. of
What would the
50 feet,
setback
that's
be?
70. I assume 50 because that's the front setback.
So 70 minimum between buildings and
Yes.
50,
Yeah.
50 between lot line.
yeah.
Is that what we want? Do we? That's
I
my
don't
question.
see a need to do more than that, but if you guys feel-
Lonnie.
So it all is going to depend on the lot. It's not necessarily, your front lot could be deeper It's not, it's not just that, you know, and the house, you know, the houses are placed based upon, you know, topology and your, you know, any type of wetlands or well, septic, things along those lines. So the houses could be placed wherever they are. But yes, as long as we're maintaining the same setbacks as on the retreat lot as we are on the normal lot, you should have plenty of room between houses. And you know, again, the assumption is that that you're hopefully going to leave some sort of vegetative buffer or turn your house sideways in the back. You know, you would you would hope that it's laid out correctly. However, you know, mainly your terrain and topology is going to dictate where the house goes.
Yeah. Do we have any other questions, or are we happy with where this bylaw is at? Francis?
You can call me
And-
Frank.
Oh, sorry, Frank. And
My question, because I missed the last meeting, was, are those restrictions on the flag lots limited to those under common ownership? I mean, if there's an existing flag lot and there's a separate owner next door that abuts it or so forth, are they subject to those restrictions?
yeah,
So that would prohibit someone down the line from creating a flag lot if you had, let's say, two that abutted already.
yeah. Now, if it was just one flag lot, I think there is a way they could build an abutting flag lot. Let's say you have an abutting flag lot and normal lot on the other side. There is a way that in the middle they could build one with the access strip bordering the existing flag lot. So that would still be the case, as long as they weren't within 1,000 feet of another flag lot. But that's dependent on the area and the existing stuff there. Anne?
In the open space subdivision bylaw, I think flag lots are allowed, right? In order to be able to condense where the houses are. And it hasn't really been used, and I know you only wanted bylaws that go across to everything, but I think it's okay to have it in like just the open space subdivisions, see how it goes if somebody uses it, instead of having this as a separate bylaw.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Depends how other people on the committee think about that.
Yeah,
Lonnie?
I'm not,
And then,
I think the whole reason we address this is because this is becoming fairly common to people who've owned property in the town for, 50 years and have the ability to create a flag lot. And it's going to the ZBA for approval. So I think we're trying to, number one, I mean, my feeling from planning board level is, if someone's been paying tax on property for 50 years, they should have a right to do with that property, as long as it's within the scope of what the town, and I don't think flag lots are offensive personally. I don't think that, that they're, usually they're set considerably back. You don't even see them. So I think that, I think there's something that needs to be added to the zoning bylaw, but.
I just had a question on that.
yeah, Anne?
So like, let's say we do pass it, and we have the flag lots, then are people going to go to the ZBA and then try to get 4 flag lots? Because it seems like that's what's happening. If people don't like the zoning bylaw, then they just go around it. And so, I mean, is it going to be just
now? They could do that now. I mean,
This at least puts restrictions in place. I mean, obviously anyone can go to ZBA, but they could get challenged. This is at least putting regulations so we have a place to start.
yeah, it actually supports it down further in those instances where there is an appeal. It supports, you know, the fact that we do allow them, we're just restricting them.
Lonnie?
Yeah, and just to, you know, again, to be able to, again, like I said, we see these come to the ZBA. The ZBA has a pretty strict set of parameters to stay within when approving these. Sometimes they get, there was a few that got challenged, and then but in the other very few. The other part of it is by putting it into the bylaws and having the planning board deal with it, it's it's really in the proper space, especially if we're seeing requests for these, right? And it also gives the planning board another tool to be able to use it, as well as a subdivision or an open space subdivision. It's just another tool to help, you know, keep things going in the right direction. And also, if you have if we're looking at, okay, these are there's options on this property, well, now we say, okay, maybe a subdivision isn't the best here, or even an open space subdivision isn't the best. Now there's this option, you know, as well as the same, you know, with the next topic we'll talk about. But you know, that there's by giving these to the planning board, there's just gives more option to residents, to developers, and to the planning board to help plan out the town better, in my opinion. Oh, sorry.
So yeah, how do people, I mean, should we do like a straw poll? Just where I want to know just where are people at with this bylaw specifically and how we want to move forward with it? Do people, I mean, do people think, yeah, how about Lonnie?
Well, let's just
I like this. I like this bylaw. I think it's pretty good. I mean, you know, we're doing the best we can. I don't know that it's 100% perfect for everything, but if we find that there's things that need to be changed, I think that you guys have done a really, really good job on it. And I think that all of the comments from the members have helped to bring it to where it needs to be.
And this is something I think that's available in most towns. It's not like we're going to be out of the ordinary. I mean, most towns have flag lots, and
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea that there is some regulation, so I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah,
anyone else? Oh, Brendan?
My major concern was what I posted in the chat, and I think taking steps to prevent that, I have many fewer concerns with what's been posted.
good. All right, so it sounds like we're
well, yeah,
we
I mean,
pretty much agree that
yeah,
we'll
Frank,
move forward.
and Frank, Lisa, and Liana, if any of you have a comment before we move on with this, I just want to make sure. Okay, Liana, thumbs up.
I'm a thumbs up, Lisa.
Okay.
I'll go with the group.
Yeah.
Francis, any comment, or you good?
No, I think that to the earlier comments, you know, you're probably seeing more and more variances, and you know, those generally are allowed in town, and more towns are imposing, you know, what I'll call restrictions, or at least guidelines for these flag lots. And so I'm in agreement with inserting them into the bylaws. So yeah, good work.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. So I will I'll get this final version sent to Dylan. And yeah. So next, all right, 20 minutes, perfect. Next we will look at common driveways, which I mean does interact with the flag lot bylaw, but there's a lot of overlap, obviously, in kind of the purpose and the implementation. All right, so just for context, for anyone who wasn't here last time, you know, it's a little bit more technical than the flag lot bylaw. shared driveways, minimum width of 18 feet for residential, 25 feet for industrial commercial driveway. There's going to be some limitations on the grade. It basically can't be too steep. There's a maximum length of 500 feet. So if that kind of answers Anne's question, the furthest back a lot could go, a flag lot could go, would be 500 feet. Yeah, basically, it'd basically be between 200 and 500 feet back for the most part. It can't be closer than 100 feet to an intersecting way, so kind of limit curb cuts near heavy traffic areas. And then we made a small, I think we made this small modification. So for residential driveways, there's these regulations on how the road, the driveway itself is constructed. But then we added some language that the planning board may impose additional conditions based on review and approval by highway, fire, and police to ensure emergency vehicle access. This was a topic of discussion last time, but right now, I mean, we kind of went back and forth on how to approach this, but I think we're gonna keep it. At this point, we're looking at a 3-lot maximum off a shared driveway. And then we added language at the bottom, and that's basically it, but that an occupancy permit for any structure shall not be granted until the portion of the driveway to access said structure is accessible by emergency vehicles. Prior to the issuance of the final occupancy permit, the engineer must submit a stamped letter certifying that the common driveway site work has been constructed as shown on the approved plans. So we have 3 comments. I assume this is about the number of lots that would be serviced. We have Anne, Lonnie, and then Jane.
Yeah, that's what I was going to comment on. I think we should start with 2, see how it goes. I think it can be very messy to have 3 totally different people owning one driveway. And complaints are going to come to the select board, even if, the town doesn't own it. And, why don't we do 2, see how it works? It's so easy to bring it to the town meeting and then add another, driveway. So I say 2.
All right.
I agree with Anne.
All right. Lisa agrees with Anne. Lonnie?
Sorry, so I had a slightly different approach to it. I do agree with, what to Anne's point. But I was wondering if it would make sense to entertain making it 2 by right. But in the case that the planning board saw fit, it could go up to 4. And just again, pointing to that same comment I made earlier, that there's just more tools in the toolbox for them to use if it was if it was the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm. All right, so
And
Lonnie,
the additionals would be by special permit or from planning board, again, not having to go to the ZBA to do this.
Yeah. So Anne is thinking about just keeping it at 2 for now, and then Lonnie is saying 2 by right up to 4 by special permit. Jane?
I just noticed there were a couple of blank spots, a few items before that one, and I just want to make sure we didn't miss that.
Oh yeah.
Number 5 right there.
Yeah. Thank you, Jane.
Yep.
So
if you want to talk about the other one, that's
we'll
finish. That's
kind of the
fine.
same thing, though. This is where we're writing that the planning board may grant sort of a waiver or something. So, can grant an extension or can grant more lots based on review and approval by the other departments. It's the same concept here. If we want to use that.
Yeah, I wonder why we're limited to 500 feet, where typically, I mean, our standard emergency requirements are 800 feet. I would think the further back, the better, out of sight, out of mind. But I mean, that's just my opinion. It doesn't matter to me either way, but.
I think they prefer to be closer to the road so they don't have to drive down it.
What's that?
I think they prefer not to, if they're near a hydrant or they have multiple trucks.
Well, our current subdivision bylaws, our road length is 800 feet because that's generally how far emergency fire vehicle
Mhm.
can provide water is 800
Right.
feet.
Yeah.
So
But
typically,
that's down a road, I assume, versus like in trees in the woods.
yeah, okay.
You
I
know,
mean, we can
retreat
leave it
lot.
at 500, doesn't matter. I was just
Yeah.
raising the question.
Mhm.
Like I said,
Lonnie,
I would think we'd want it further back, but that's okay. 500 is fine.
But we can extend it with the planning board can extend it.
Yeah.
Lonnie and then Frank.
Sorry, yeah. So two things, just on the depth. I think that keep in mind too that it's not a road, right? It's a common drive. So we want to keep that common drive as short as possible, right? And then the residences, those other driveways will obviously
They
going to
can
branch
yeah,
off of that main drive, and then those are maintained by the individuals. So to keep that main drive as short as possible, and again, it is extendable by planning board if need be, if if topology and terrain or anything else allows. The other thing I did want to bring up was I did a little bit of research just on some other communities, right? And I didn't get too deep on size of communities and what have you, but just a quick summary, like Carlisle allows up to 6 and by special permit. Bolton has 3 to 5 by special permit. West Stockbridge up to 4. Hardwick 4 to 6. Norton up to 4. So again, there's a lot of towns that are even way higher than the numbers we're talking. So again, just wanted to make that point.
Thank you. Frank.
So just trying to touch on all those points to Ann's original point of limiting to 2. I guess my question involving the length is, I think anyone trying to get 3 retreat lots, shared driveway into 3 lots, you're going to run into that problem, right? So if you're 500 feet back and you have 3 lots that need to be serviced. So I guess my first question is, how is the 500 measured? Is it from the street to what point? Would be my first point that I would say. To Lonnie's point, I think by special permit, if necessary, would it be special permit of variance that they exceed the 2 lots? So that's one possibility. And then finally, is there a requirement that the owners enter into a shared driveway agreement as a result of this? Is that
Yes.
in here? Oh, it
Yes.
is. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Dylan, how do we want to clarify how we're measuring this? I mean,
I assume it's road length, not just street
Well,
to
you
end
want
of
a
it.
number for that extension?
Yeah,
I mean, I would say 300 feet is the
300 is
maximum.
what I
I
was
mean, we
gonna say.
can't go more than 800 feet.
let's do 300.
okay.
How do you feel? Everyone feel good about that? Good enough?
That'd be the maximum addition.
Other way around.
Right.
Write 300 out in the first one.
Oh, right. Sorry.
There you go.
I was like, why is it? All right.
And can we poll how people feel about Lonnie's idea of
Up to
2
4.
lots,
2,
up to
yeah.
4 with the planning board's discretion based on, what the fire department, highway department, police, if they're all okay with it. The planning board's allowed to grant more.
This is Lisa. I'm open to that if we have other towns that do that. I'm open to doing that by special permit.
Yeah, like I said, when I was doing my discovery, the flag lot is pretty popular in the state. I mean, it's not like most towns. Like I said, Upton uses it quite often. If you drive down Mendon Street right now, before you get to the Plain Street intersection, there's one going in on the right. Upton's gotten pretty. They utilize the flag lot and the shared driveway quite a bit.
Anne, you've had your hand raised. Sorry, and then I'll Liana after Anne.
Yeah, I mean, still would want to stick with 2 and then see how it goes. I really don't want to have a shared driveway turn into 2 away. That's just to get around putting in a subdivision and then having less oversight, like from the planning board. And I also I would rather encourage developers to do the open space subdivision. So then some land is set aside and it's just more sustainable. So I'd like to start with 2 and see how that goes.
All right, Liana.
I don't know if anybody wants to respond to Anne because mine's on a little bit of a tangential topic related, but a little tangential to the discussion. So I can kind of wait until this discussion.
I'm pretty much in the same place as Anne at this point.
Okay, so I guess Frank and Lisa, or Liana, does anyone have strong opinions about sorry if you already said, but about how you feel about the number? I guess Lisa said you would be open to the special permit.
Yeah, I don't have a strong opinion.
Okay. Frank and Liana.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't have a strong opinion either, and I'm perfectly comfortable having it up to 4 with special permit. Because that will, I think, alleviate concerns that people are just trying to avoid subdivisions by trying to have 4 by right. So I don't have a problem with that.
Do we have this whole thing as special permit? Gabe, am I mistaken?
Yeah, it's all special permit.
Okay. So we're
It's
already
not-
in a special permit.
Yeah.
I would agree that I would be okay with a limitation of 2, subject to special permit for an extension. The way this reads right now, however, I think there should be some criteria to that special permit. Right now, that last sentence implies that it's subject to or conditioned on a waiver by the emergency services. So is it a waiver or is it a special permit requirement?
Now, the waivers from the
We're in
planning
a-
board.
We're in a
It's
special
the
permit.
approval of the highway and fire and police.
So yeah, it would be part of the special permit that it
You need a
has to be.
special permit to do this whole thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it
The whole
says, okay.
So that would ensure that if you're building a shared driveway, due to public safety concerns, with that many people accessing the same road, we need public safety oversight. That would be present throughout the process. Especially as the bylaw is currently written, it all is going to be special permit.
So even 2
Even
have
2
to
would
go
be
special.
special
Do
permit.
we really want to do special permit for 2?
Yes, I think so. Just
I-
because
I-
of the other concerns.
All right.
I
Yeah,
don't
and I
want to
said-
end up with, even just the grade of the land and
Yeah, but you got to do, we
roads and
could
things.
still improve. It's still got to go through planning board approval, so you're still going to, without,
You just want to do site plan, you're saying?
yeah, just utilize site plan.
Mhm. Liana, you had your hand raised.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if it's already by special permit, then I think if you really are trying to make a distinction between 2, but sometimes allowable to 4 in special circumstances, I think you have to call that out. Otherwise, to me, it's confusing. It looks like you could just do up to 4. So, if we really want to kind of maintain it at 2 with, every once in a while 4, if there's really some kind of hardship topographically or something, then I think we need to make that clearer.
So
And what would
Yeah.
that mechanism be if we're already in special
Well,
permit?
so again, I think that what I was saying earlier just was, and Dylan and anybody, please tell me if it's wrong to do it this way, that you could do up to 2 again without special permit. But we would still want the planning board to have full oversight of what's going on, right?
Yeah, we can
So-
require site plan review.
Yeah, and then the special permit would be for, or variance, however, whatever is the correct word to use there. I don't think it's variance, I think it would be special permit.
Yes.
For the 3rd or up to 4.
I am used to this being a special permit, but we can move it down. Site plan review means we can't really deny them. So if they want to have the standard, we can't really deny them.
I'll
to-
apply
and we can't
subdivision
deny
rules and
them.
regulations.
Right, yeah. But special permit, we can deny it. So that's sort of the difference here. And that's
Yeah.
it makes sense. I'm just used to it being all special permit here.
Yeah, I think the question is, like, do we want to empower the planning board or not in this
Yeah.
circumstance?
You lose
Um,
control of it.
yeah.
The planning board doesn't have as much control anymore.
And I mean, in my opinion, like when you're looking at like when we're codifying road construction and grading, I think, I mean, I know in other towns things slip through that you wouldn't want to slip through, and there have been, it just happens where things get built that aren't correct, and then it becomes a real problem. So
There's a lot
that's
less
just,
oversight with site plan
yeah.
review.
Okay, so how do we word it correctly?
We'll just
for
do sort of
my
the same we
understanding?
have above. So the planning board may grant up to 4 lots.
Like here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is
So
2 lots, but the planning board may grant up to 2 additional based on blah 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 highway fire, something like that.
yeah. So looking at,
Yeah, using that same language, sort of we have.
or I guess the
in-
extension.
Yeah.
So it could be
It's
like
sort of like that one. Yeah.
like here.
Yeah.
So
Similar
this
to
is-
that. We'll change
This
it
is
a
how
bit.
I'd write it.
Mhm.
The planning, so maximum number of lots that may be served by a common driveway is 2. The planning board may grant a waiver owing to circumstances, blah, 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 that cause substantial hardship to the applicant. An additional
Yeah, additional 2.
two, or 2 lots off a common driveway with review and approval by the highway department.
Yeah.
Said waiver shall not be allowed solely for the convenience and or preference of the applicant. And then I might just add language like for a total of 4. So,
I would put lots after the 4.
yeah, thank you.
And can you change off a common driveway to served by a common driveway?
Yeah,
I think that is consistent with the other language you've used.
yeah. So basically, this establishes circumstances where 2 is the default, but if we're in an area where, if they have the land for it and building traditional lots is not viable because of the topography, which is totally, I think a very valid situation. Or, I think you could, make, if let's say it's like in a conservation area, adjacent to a conservation area, and you want to limit disturbance to the conservation area, like that could be, that would be something else. Anne and then Brendan.
I mean, I think this is already in the bylaw, but like what I don't want to have happen is that you have the, driveways and then you can't put like a flag lot off the driveway. It has to be from the road, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think in the flag lot bylaw, Dylan, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's only talking about public ways, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Brendan?
Yeah, I'm trying to decide how to word this. So I think you covered this a little bit. I'm just trying to imagine the scenario where you could not either build a conventional subdivision. Because of one of these reasons, it makes more sense to put in a common drive. I'm just trying to understand a little bit the allowable exemptions.
Jane?
Yeah, I don't recall if it was this bylaw or the flag lot one, but one of them said the lots or the street extension shall not be off of the end of a cul-de-sac.
Yeah, we talked about that.
I believe
Yeah.
that's in
That was in the flag lot bylaw,
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
they're gonna be
Oh,
100
no,
feet
here, yeah.
apart.
common driveways. This is also in this.
Okay.
Common driveways may only access the street where the
Oh.
lots served have legal frontage. common drive shall not be permitted at the end of a cul-de-sac. So
I didn't know if that addressed one of the previous questions.
I think that covers it pretty much.
I just have a question on that cul-de-sac thing. Like, if
Yeah.
someone had the right frontage in a cul-de-sac, why couldn't you go off a cul-de-sac?
With a shared driveway?
Yeah.
I think the idea is you're not building. I think it's to limit the development of a de facto subdivision.
Yeah, 'cause they could-
where like
They
you could
could
have
keep going off of that cul-de-sac.
Yeah, you could have like a cul-de-sac. Let's say you have like 4 houses on a cul-de-sac, and there's like a gap, like a 50-foot gap or a 200-foot gap at the end of the cul-de-sac, which, and then you could just build basically a private road off the essentially just extending the road without doing any of the actual work of building a public road.
But couldn't you do that off of any part of the road? Like, why would it be different from the cul-de-sac, I guess? That's what I don't understand.
Well, there's different requirements for the roadway, number one.
Well, I think too, our cul-de-sacs are, you know, like if we think of it in the traditional like open space subdivision, right? Your cul-de-sac, we're shortening the road, and the cul-de-sac is supposed to be the limit, right? And I would think that, yeah, where you could extend it another, 500 feet. I see what you're asking, but I think that, yeah, the cul-de-sac usually represents the end, right? And I think that I see what you're saying, though.
I mean, it's fun
I'm
having
not
there. I
gonna
just don't
argue.
understand why it's in there, but
I mean, in Uxbridge, we've had cul-de-sacs where people then continue the road later. So this makes it so that they continue the actual subdivision, they continue the actual road, instead of deciding they're going to be cheaper and not build an actual road and just build a common driveway.
I think that's the whole benefit of the common driveway, though.
I
I don't have an opinion either way. I just feel like you said, I just feel like that
It also,
the cul-de-sac represented the end.
Somebody driving down it too, or even like a plow or something like that, you get to the end of the cul-de-sac and then the road looks like it keeps going. You don't know if you're supposed to stop plowing or if you're supposed to stop driving. You don't realize that that's the end of the public road. That can get weird too.
yeah. I mean, I'm
And I
not
think-
saying take it out. I just was curious.
Yeah. I think it could also be a safety concern, again, like in Dylan's circumstance, where, I mean, if anyone's been to Worcester, you've seen the number of private roads that are all potholed out. And, often they say private drive dangerous. I think having that just sort of as a continuation of a public road is, you could just go onto it by accident. And then if it's not maintained, you might be,
So,
you can mess
It's
up
also
your car or
really
something.
strange when you come into it and the road continues. I think I've been on the one in Uxbridge that you were talking about, Dylan. I've actually drove into it and it was kind of a little uneasy coming into it because all of a sudden it's really wide and then you're back into another road. But again, not that this is a road, but
Yeah.
I know I'm just blabbering.
Yeah. So I think we got a lot done on this tonight, I have to say. So if people are Liana, yeah.
Sorry, I just had my question from earlier about.
Oh yeah.
About the easement. So I'm not very familiar with how that works when you put an easement requirement in the bylaws for something like this, but I mean, how do we make sure that if the parties execute an easement, that it's not then revised later between the parties? And do we really want the planning board or the town really to get in the middle of, what's really a private matter? I understand that there'll be complaints and I understand that comes to you guys anyway, but if it's a requirement here, how does that not keep us in the middle of it in perpetuity?
Yeah, I wouldn't, to be honest with you, I wouldn't even get involved in that. I think, if one of the landowners come later, with a complaint to the planning board. Then you can address it from the planning board level. But I think once you start stepping, I think Leanna's right. Once you start stepping into that, you're gonna drag yourself into a legal quandary.
I mean, Dylan, as the person who would get the complaint, what do you think about, like, how do you feel about a limit? I guess, how would we approach this section? You're muted, yeah.
Yeah, let me read it again.
So the permit holder shall record a plan for the common driveway, and such instruments are necessary to establish easements providing for use of the common driveway to serve more than one lot, and a restriction burdening all lots served by the driveway, that said common driveway shall remain private in perpetuity, that no parking will be allowed on the common drive, and that all roadway maintenance, snow plowing, and rubbish collection shall be the landowner's responsibility. The plan and instruments shall be in a form approved by the planning board and shall be recorded with proof of such recording provided to the planning board prior to the use of the common driveway to serve more than one lot.
That's the important thing to me, because when people call me and I look up their address, I look up their deed and I read their deed and I say, you signed this and it says that these are your restrictions or this is what you agreed to. I cannot help you. This is a private matter. And that's how I deal
Well,
with
this
that.
would have to be done as a covenant more than anything. But
Yeah, I see. I think it
Yeah.
look to me it's more saying, okay, this is your driveway. You're going to be in charge of this, and we're going to set it straight right now because the town is
Yeah.
not involved. You know,
Right.
Yeah.
so
And that keeps me out. As long as it's recorded in the registry and I can find it under their address, I'm happy.
Yeah, and this kind of sets a level playing field and expectations for all of them. So maybe they all will be similar.
Mhm.
So it's easier to parse.
Yeah,
and
we
move
can
forward.
even have with the planning board, we can have a template that we offer. That's, off.
yeah,
It's
the
not
problem
part of
with
this,
these, and
but
I
just
was
something
just
we could
involved
do,
in one
you
on
know?
my own property. When you
You
get a
just have it on the
covenant,
website.
when the properties get sold, the covenant is really passed along. You know, for some reason, no one ever looks them up in the registry of deeds. I just happened to, on a property I owned, I just happened to realize I bought it 4 or 5 years ago, and it had a covenant on it. No one ever made me aware when I purchased it. I discovered the covenant myself, and it's a good thing because I got a lot of things cleared up before I sold the property, because it probably wouldn't have passed title. It may not have passed title, may have gotten through, but a lot of times these covenants, when the properties are sold, don't get handed down.
Do you think we should clarify that it needs to be a deed rider sort of thing? It needs to be on the deed.
Yeah,
Instead
I
of-
would at
I mean,
least
covenants are
reference.
also in the registry. If you look
I think
at
we should
all the address things, it says covenant, and those are there.
Yeah, I think we should require a reference to it.
So should we change easements to covenant?
We're saying less covenanty, more like specifically say that it's not a separate document. Right?
Okay.
Doesn't
Makes it
matter to me
easier to
whether it's
track.
easement or covenant.
Okay.
I just
Um,
think covenants are also in the registry. If it's not in the registry, it doesn't count. And this is so rude of me, but like, if you're going to buy property, you really need to do your due diligence.
Yeah,
I mean, it's true. So like, if you're going to buy property, you need to know what you're getting into. It's very important for anyone to do that.
well,
And
yeah,
if you don't
usually you
realize
have an
you're getting
attorney
into a
that
common
handles
driveway
that, but
situation,
yeah, usually you have an attorney that handles that, but let me
right?
tell you from
It happens.
experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me tell you from experience, it doesn't always occur.
It doesn't always occur, and there's plenty of people who buy property that, someone sort of, it happens faster than they think, and they don't notice, but like, you're getting into a common driveway, you need to know what you're signing. But it
Yeah.
just needs to be on the deed, so you should read that before you sign it.
Frank?
I'm just thinking about the circumstances where a shared driveway comes into play, and I presume primarily it's for a property owner who's wants to develop, let's say, 2 lots, but because of the topo or conservation issues, they have to gain access, on a strip of land. So we have a shared driveway and they're developing a lot, and I presume that would be under common ownership. And let's say they go to build a house. I would think legal access to their property is going to be required. I'd like to think that, an attorney somewhere along the line is going to bring that up. So I think it's important. Whether it becomes a requirement of the bylaw, I'm not sure yet.
We've had issues where people think that their private roads are public because in Uxbridge, the town accidentally started plowing them.
We've
So
had
then we
that
had
in
to
men.
stop 10 years later, and everyone's upset with the town because the town
Yeah,
suddenly
we've
decided
had
we're
that
not
in
gonna do
Mendon
it.
too.
Yeah, on these common driveways. They're clearly common drives or private roads or things like that. We have one that's literally just like around a house, and it serves a back lot. It's not a road, but they were plowing it for like 10 years. So we need proof that it's not a public road in
And
perpetuity.
Yeah, I just think it's good to have something legal for the town to use. And unfortunately, I mean, as close, if it could be on the deed or somehow like really referenced so that a homeowner could find it, I think that'd be important. But I
As long as
mean,
it's recorded.
we can't help it if they don't see it, but at least it gives the town backing.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Dylan, do you want to bring this back? And I mean, unless you want to try rewriting this right
Yeah,
now.
I can think this over and just make sure we're very clear. But I
Yeah.
think this is really good. This is
Yeah,
what I
I think
want
we're-
is proof of recording.
I
That's
think
what I
other than a change of a couple of words, I think that's pretty,
Yeah.
Okay.
pretty,
Yeah, if I need to change a word here or there, but I'm very happy with anything that gets recorded under the address. That's all I need.
Okay. Awesome. Well, then I think this is in a good place as well, and I appreciate everyone's time and consideration on this. So I think that's it for tonight, and I think this may be Jane and I's last meeting with you all. So
oh, we're gonna
Thank
miss
you
you
very
guys.
much. Yeah.
Lonnie, thumbs down. I agree. This has been honestly, this has been a really pleasant and fun process. You guys have been a very seriously like a very thoughtful and intelligent committee, which results
Well,
may vary in
I
other
appreciate
places.
all the work you guys did.
Thank
And,
you.
Yes. Yeah,
it's
thank
been
You
a
you.
lot
know,
of
when
fun.
we started
you.
off in this venture, I anticipated a lot more difficulty in the process, but we've done a pretty good job.
Thank you.
And I'm sure
thank you.
Dylan and I can handle it from here, but
Yeah, and we'll be available, if you need to bounce questions or if you're missing something, feel free to reach out and we can
Yeah, I'd like
always-
to propose that we do meet in July after
Yes.
we're done with Gabe and Jane. So do we want to set a date for that now before we close?
sure.
That way we don't leave it hanging. So 2 weeks from now would be the 1st. I don't know.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, I figured people might be on their way to vacation.
Probably sometime in the middle of the month.
I was thinking the 15th. That way we're away from the holiday.
Dylan,
15th.
can I just ask
Yeah.
a quick question? Are you going, so will you manage the invites and the agendas from now on?
I can. Yep.
Okay. all right.
Not the minutes, but what would you say?
No, not
Agenda?
the minutes. No.
I will do everything else.
I'll still work with
Yeah,
with
I
Matt
can
on
do the
those.
agendas. Yep.
But yeah, just it would be I just don't want to because I put one in last week.
Yeah.
Totally fine if your handle takes it off
Yep,
my
I can
plate.
do it.
Thank you.
So the 15th.
Does that sound good? Sorry, my dog's going crazy.
We can't hear it. Don't worry.
Can't hear anything.
I can't hear you
Every-
guys, but if you can hear
Everyone
me.
always is, apologizing for
Yeah.
their child or pet on calls, and I never hear it.
All right, then we'll call it for the 15th.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
Okay.
Other than that,
Well, thank you, Gabe and Jane. It was like everybody like we said. I really enjoyed working with you guys and helping us work through the tough parts of this. And Dylan, and I know Jack's not here. Thank you for your assistance as well. You guys really did
A lot of good work.
all the heavy lifting. I
there
don't
was a
know who
lot of good
iPad is,
work done
but
by a lot of good people. I mean, yes, I really want to thank Jane and Gabe, but I really like to thank all of you.
Mhm.
When I put this group together, I felt it was going to be a good group to hear a wide variety of the community. And I think that's what we got. So and that's what we want. We want voices from all. And I think you all worked hard, and I think the results show that. So I'm very pleased with how this turned out. And, you know, we still got some more work to do, but I think most of the heavy lifting's been done.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you for your leadership, Bill.
Thank you.
You're very
Thank
welcome.
you.
All right, guys. Do I have a second? I have a
Second.
motion. All those in favor?
Tenio, aye.
And Brazil, aye.
Chanel, aye.
Nero, I.
More I.
Good
All
night,
right, guys.
everybody.
Good night.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
See you later.
Thank
Bye.
you.